The meaning of stars is a huge round body that gets its iridescence from the atomic combination responses that happen in its center, which brings about components heavier than hydrogen. The Sun is the star that furnishes the planet with light and radiation, and gives conditions that make it a reasonable spot for the rise of various living things. 1. And have astrology with intrigue and study by stargazers to distinguish the unmistakable attributes of every one of them, where information on one of the properties prompts the recognizable proof of different properties. By watching the star's range, its splendor, and its development in space, researchers can decide its mass, age, and synthetic piece of it, and through information the mass of a star can decide the date of its birthplace, advancement, and extreme fate, and by knowing the transformative history of the star it is conceivable to know the distance across of its turn, the component of its revolution, and its temperature. The obvious universe contains several billions of trillions of stars, yet the unaided eye can see not many. There are numerous stars known to man as sets, different frameworks, or star bunches that are identified with one another truly through their normal route and partiality for one another. There are additionally gatherings of stars known as stellar affiliations comprise of comparable genuinely comparative stars, yet their mass is short of what they are pulled into one another enough to frame heavenly bunches. The existence pattern of stars. The star goes through its life in a few phases, as follows. 4. Star-forming nebula. The star starts his life as a cloud, English, nebula, which means a dust storm and gas, a large portion of which is from hydrogen, whose parts are gathered by gravity. The phase of the principal star, English, protostar. The phase of the main star, English, protostar, starts when the cloud falls because of gravity, its parts impact and the temperature rises, and when the temperature and thickness of gases arrive at a reasonable degree, the atomic combination of hydrogen molecules starts to shape helium, and results from the cooperation heat and light. Therefore, the underlying star is enlightened. The phase of the primary arrangement stars. In this stage, the outside power coming about because of atomic combination is offset with the power of interior gravity, and the star arrives at a condition of security or hydrostatic parity, and this stage is the longest phase of the star's life. 5. The red monsters phase. When the hydrogen fuel starts to escape from the center, the external layers of the star keep on hurrying internal, which raises the center temperature enough to begin another chain of atomic combination responses, so the external power conquers the inward gravitational power, and accordingly the star grows, increments in size, and turns into a red Goliath. The phase of star passing. The lifespan of a star and how it bites the dust relies upon its size toward the start of its development, where a little star can live billions of years. Models remember the Sun, for which atomic responses keep going for 10 billion years, while huge stars bite the dust rapidly, where some of them live
just 40,000 years. This is on the grounds that it needs atomic responses to happen at a gigantic rate to keep up its hydrostatic parity, which implies that their hydrogen fuel runs out rapidly.
5. The strategy for death of various stars as far as mass can be depicted as follows. 6. Medium-sized stars. After the hydrogen fuel is totally drained in medium-sized stars, the mass of which arrives at 1.5 times the mass of the Sun, the warmth of the red Goliath starts to diminish, and it discharges a white light, so it is known as white diminutive person, and after the star cools totally it transforms into a dark smaller person, English, black midget. Uber stars, mega stars whose mass surpasses the mass of the Sun from 1.5 multiple times, abandons the red Goliath stage to the supernova stage, where all the substantial components are presented to a blast, and the star transforms into a neutron star, English, neutron star, which is a star with a mass of 1.4 the Sun's mass. Notwithstanding its rotational speed, the neutron star is perhaps the densest sort of stars. The neutron star that dispatches radio waves is known as a pulsar, in English, pulsar. Monster stars, giant stars that are multiple occasions the mass of the Sun, are changed from a red Goliath into a supernova, which thusly transforms into a dark gap, a body with a high gravity that light can't escape from, and the nearness of black gaps are just through the radiation transmitted by the bodies that retain them. Star evaluations classify stars dependent on their unearthly properties to 7 degrees communicated utilizing the letters O, B, A, F, G, K, M. Each ghostly kind incorporates 10 subcategories with numbers 0 to 9, and this arrangement is utilized to signify star temperature. The star, O, is the most sultry and the letters that follow demonstrate the angle neglected, where the star, M, is the coldest, while the numbers that mean the subcategories extend from 0 and it is the most sizzling to 9 and is the coldest, and the star temperature decides its shading and the measure of its splendor. The accompanying table shows the order of star spectra. 7. Star spectra surface temperature characteristics. O more than 25,000 K, which contains hydrogen, impartial helium, and ionized helium. B from 10,000 to 25,000 K contains hydrogen and ionized helium, and there is no nonpartisan helium. A from 7,500 to 10,000 K contains hydrogen, ionized helium, and calcium particles, and there is no impartial helium. F from 6,000 to 7,500 K contains hydrogen and minerals, for example, calcium particles, iron, and so on. G from 5,000 to 6,000 K contains hydrogen, minerals, and a few atoms. K from 3,500 to 5,000 stars are additionally sorted dependent on the class of glow. The glow of a specific star relies upon numerous elements, for example, the star's otherworldly qualities, the star's measurement, and the level of galactic concealment, in English, the measure of illumination, which means the scattering of star radiation coming about because of the nearness of certain substances in the encompassing medium. The brilliance of a specific star depicts the size of the star, for example increasing speed of gravity in the optical ball, photosphere, and as for huge stars of a particular otherworldly sort, their surface gravity diminishes, which decreases the width of the assimilation lines of the beams, and as indicated by this framework the stars are named follows. The stars are portrayed as inflamed large balls comprising of hydrogen and helium, and because of the hotness of the stars, the gigantic measure of hydrogen where they are available is dependent upon a steady atomic response, yet the Sun needs billions of years to debilitate the hydrogen present in it, and atomic responses led to the arrival of tremendous vitality as electromagnetic radiation that can be checked utilizing the radio telescopes of the Deep Space Observing Network (DSN), and the stars, including the Sun, are recognized by the discharge of sun-oriented breezes, in which intermittent blasters are known as sun-based flares. 8. The center of the Sun is comprised of 15 million degrees Celsius plasma comprising of electrons and protons discharged from hydrogen particles, and the plasma structures 90% of the Sun, and consistently it impacts thousands of protons in the center of the Sun with one another inside an atomic response to deliver helium cores, and these atomic responses produce vitality or warmth that is transmitted to the zones encompassing the center by radiation, at that point moved to the locales close to the external surface of the Sun by convection, so the sweltering gases rise until it returns off once more, and the development of gas masses causes what is known as sun tremors, which researchers surmise to decide the inward structure of the Sun and the procedures that happen in various areas underneath its surface. 8. An examination by space expert Cecilia Payne shows in the 90s the only remaining century demonstrates that the environment of stars comprises of a blend of components that are unique in relation to those of the Earth's air, and that the vast majority of the climate of most stars is made of hydrogen, and around then, researchers dismissed the consequences of the Payne concentrate until another investigation affirmed the legitimacy of its discoveries, as it was later discovered that stars comprise of 90% of hydrogen, 10% of helium, and not very many substantial components. 9. Stars, including the Sun, are portrayed by being not fixed set up however spinning, because of the way that the stars framed from a haze of gas and residue turning axles, and since the rakish force is a protected sum, the stars rotate axle likewise, yet they pivot all the more rapidly from the speed of revolution of the cloud you made up. This is on the grounds that snapshot of latency has less torque, which implies that its pace of revolution is quicker. 10. The Sun pivots roughly like clockwork at the equator, and pretty much at regular intervals close to the posts, and the past two turn times differ because of the piece. The liquid Sun is not normal for the strong Earth structure, similarly as the Sun pivots a similar way as the planets turn around it, which is likewise the bearing of revolution of the first cloud from which the Sun shaped, and a few stars in the Milky Way cosmic system will in general pivot toward the pivot of the universe itself, yet the stars pivot in irregular ways to some degree when taking a gander at them independently.